guest. So we tried to prop up the people who really, some people did faint because, you know, as I say, the thirst and the heat and the excitement and the horror was terrible. Then all our hair was shaved, and then we were tattooed, and then we were told, and now it's your turn to go to the shower. You can imagine we didn't want to go, but we were sort of pushed into it. And there were pipes, and we really thought, well, that's it. But water came. But in the gas chambers, it was exactly the same. Pipes, and people expected water to come down, but started to feel faint, couldn't breathe. And within 5 minutes, everybody had collapsed and was killed.
Do you think they were playing with you psychologically, putting you in the showers and you not knowing what was going to happen?
Yeah, they like to worry us, well, worry is a bit mild, they like to shock us. Yeah.
Do you think you were lucky to survive?
Oh yes, extremely lucky, yeah.
How close do you think you were to not making it?
Well, my mother actually, after about 3 months, was selected by Mengele to be guest. And for 3 months we were separated, and I really thought I'd lost her. So that was for me the most horrendous, and there were some times when I really nearly gave up. But like I said, my father one day out of the blue appeared with his SS boss. And the horrible thing was that I told him that my mother had been killed. But he encouraged me and he said, Heinz, my brother was still okay, and he said it will end soon and just hold on. I saw him, he came 3 times and then he disappeared. And but then, you know, my mother was saved, obviously, and then by the end of the year the camp was not run anymore at the same efficiency, and you could move from one building to the other and from one part of the camp to the other. And somebody from our Dutch transport came and told me that she'd seen my mother in another part of the camp. First I didn't want to believe it. I thought, you know, she just wants to cheer me up, but it was true. And again, through tricks, I was able to go where she was. And I stayed there then with her in this part. And then several weeks later, the Germans all left and the Russians came. But at that time, I had terrible frostbite because it was winter. It was it was one of the coldest winter on record. And frostbite means that if you were with a bad wear, had very open toes, open wounds which got infected. And in another few days or weeks, I would have had gangrene and lost my toes and my feet, and I would have died. So really, it was just as far as I could make it.
How often do you think about your experiences?
Well, when I talk about it, this of course becomes very, very clear to me in my mind. I see everything in front of me. It's really engraved in me. It's with me all the time. If I do something else, I don't think of it. But I do a lot of talking about it now, and so it is really very much part of me now.
Yeah. Does the talking help you?
No, not really. No. It amazes me each time, you know, talking to you or to anybody, how I really was able to survive, because we were not supposed to. Nobody was supposed to survive. And the circumstances, the food rations, the illnesses, the climate, the cold, the work, you know, was really for nobody to survive. And you know, when it was cold now, a cold spell, people say, oh, I'm cold, and you know, that was nothing compared from what we got through, without clothes, without warm food, without having a warm bed or even an electric blanket or anything like that, you know. So, and the food ration was just, that somebody could survive on this is really amazing.
Yeah.
But having said that, most people didn't.
How on earth do you begin to try and rebuild your life after something like that?
Well, it took me, you know, it took me good 20 years. I was very, very unhappy, full of hatred, But it was Otto who came very often to our apartment to talk to us, and especially to me. And he helped me a lot because he was amazing. He who had lost everybody, had no hard feeling, no hatred, and he was very proud of being a German. And he said, not all Germans are bad, and you can't condemning them forever because, you know, you do then the same as Hitler's done to condemn a whole people.
And when did you first hear about Anne's book and learn of her experience?
When he got it from Miep, which was, I think, in August 1945, he came to show it to us. And he read always a few passages out of it, but he always burst into tears, really. It was too emotional for him. But everybody he met, he showed it. He was very, very, very proud of it. And what kept him going was that he always said, through reading her words, I feel she's still with me.
Can you believe what has become of the diary and of Anne's reputation around the world?
Well, it happened, and I'm really very amazed, but I think it was really a very, very important part of putting the Holocaust on the conscience of many, many people. Because after the war, people didn't want to hear, didn't want to talk about it, and for many, many years people said, and I wanted to tell my story, I wanted people to feel sorry for me, but people said, well, we know, we don't want to hear. And so through her book, she made people aware of what has happened.
Is Anne's story still as relevant today as it was back in 1945?
Well, there are many messages that she believes in the goodness of mankind. I think there are many, many wonderful people around, but unfortunately there's well a lot of evil people, and there's a lot of discrimination and hatred. And so I think even for us mixing with people, we have to be very much aware who we talk to, who people are. But me and other Holocaust survivors have the task, I think, to change the attitude of those people.
There are still people who deny that the Holocaust ever happened. How do you feel about people who deny it?
Yeah, well, there are many, and I think in 20 years, 30 years, when we are not around anymore, it will become much more that people will say, oh, it's exaggeration, it never happened. So that's for me it is a great insult, because I was there, experienced it, I lost my family. How can people say, you know, it's not true? And I think it should be a law to forbid to deny the Holocaust, because it's not freedom of speech, it's really libel, because it's proven that it is there. The Germans themselves took documents and photos, and they recorded every death. I mean, we had from the Red Cross the date when my father died and my brother in Mauthausen, recorded by the Nazis. So, you know, and where are those 6 million Jewish people?
You've just celebrated your 80th birthday. Anne will be 80 on Friday, or she would have been. How do you think she would have lived her life and celebrated?
Well, what she would have done, you know, people ask me, would she have become a writer or what? Well, of course, we'll never know. But I think she was a fighter. She would have gone into politics. She would have tried to make a mark on the world. Didn't have necessarily been through writing. But of course, we'll never know what she would have made out of her life. But she was, it's a pity. But on the other hand, like you say, you know, the diary might never have been published, and the great work of art, of literature would have been lost.